didn't arrive at this moment by accident. Chosen one. Pause your scrolling, steady your breath, and listen, because heaven has slowed everything around you on purpose. What you thought was delay was actually divine restraint. What you thought was stagnation was protection. God pressed pause not to punish you, but to prepare you. While others rushed ahead without clarity, you were held back so you would not miss the weight of what is coming next. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. You have felt it, haven't you? That strange stillness, that sense that time itself feels thicker, heavier, as if every step forward requires more effort than before. You wondered why doors that should have opened stayed shut. You questioned why progress felt interrupted at the last second. But hear this clearly now: heaven does not rush what it intends to crown. The pause you are in is not the absence of God. It is the nearness of God hovering, inspecting, aligning, preparing. You are not like the rest. You were never designed to blend in or move at the same pace as those who are unassigned. When God is about to accelerate a chosen one, He first isolates them from noise, distraction, and premature movement. He slows the environment so your spirit can catch up to your destiny. And that is why everything around you felt delayed while everything inside you was being sharpened. Every sleepless night, every quiet tear, every moment where you questioned your own worth, none of it was wasted. God was building endurance in you. He was training you to trust His timing when nothing made sense. Because what is coming next cannot be sustained by impatience, emotional impulse, or borrowed faith. It requires rooted conviction. Don't do it, and no matter the price. Don't abandon this pause early. Many people lose their calling not in rebellion but in impatience. They move too soon. They speak too early. They act before heaven gives permission. And when that happens, mercy steps back, not because God is cruel, but because order must be honored. You are standing in the sacred space between promise and fulfillment. This is the womb of destiny. And like every birth, pressure increases right before life breaks forth. That pressure you feel, it is not meant to crush you. It is meant to push you into alignment. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Read that again in your spirit. Though it tarries, wait, not quit, not detour, not compromise. Wait. Because what God has spoken over you cannot arrive early, and it cannot arrive late. It arrives exactly when your character can carry it. This pause has been a filter. Some people couldn't stay with you in stillness. Some connections fell away when movement slowed. That was not loss, that was protection. God was quietly removing those who would have drained you during acceleration. You cannot carry unnecessary weight into the next season. Where you are going requires lightness, obedience, and precision. And now, chosen one, something is shifting. You may not see it yet, but heaven is already repositioning events, conversations, and opportunities. The stillness is about to give way to motion. The silence is about to give way to instruction. But here is the warning: listen carefully. Acceleration without obedience becomes chaos. Speed without submission becomes destruction. That is why this pause mattered. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not late. You are right on schedule. Hell tried to convince you that delay meant denial, but God allowed the delay so your foundation would not crack under blessing. What is coming will require spiritual muscle, emotional maturity, and unwavering focus. And you are being measured right now not by what you say, but by how you wait. This is why you must guard your thoughts in this season. What you believe during the pause determines how you move during acceleration. If you complain now, you will mishandle later. If you grow bitter now, you will misuse authority later. But if you remain faithful here, you will be trusted there. Chosen one, this message found you because heaven is checking your readiness. Sunday is approaching, and it is not symbolic, it is structural, a hinge moment, a line in the spirit, and only those who respected the pause will survive the speed. So I ask you, will you honor this moment? Will you resist the urge to force what God is about to release freely? Will you stay aligned when impatience whispers louder than faith? If this message resonates with your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like this message, share it with someone who is also waiting, and subscribe so you stay connected to what God is unfolding next. And as a prophetic act of alignment, comment the number 777 below if you choose to trust God's timing even in the pause. You can feel it drawing closer now. The atmosphere has changed, not with noise, but with weight. This is not emotional anticipation, it is spiritual finality. Sunday is not a metaphor, not a poetic checkpoint, not a motivational deadline created by human language. It is a threshold, a line drawn in the unseen realm where permission shifts, access changes, and responsibility deepens. What you do with this moment matters more than you realize. There are seasons when God allows flexibility, when mercy stretches time and grace absorbs hesitation. But there are also moments when heaven closes the window gently, without announcement, without thunder, without warning sirens. People only realize it later, when they try to return to a door that no longer opens. This is why discernment is critical now. You are not being rushed, you are being summoned. Sunday represents alignment between heaven's calendar and your obedience. God works with time, but he is not bound by it. When he highlights a moment, it is because eternity is pressing into the present. This is one of those moments. You are not just approaching a new week, you are approaching a verdict on readiness. You have been circling this decision longer than you admit. God has repeated himself to you in different ways, through silence, through conviction, through the quiet unrest that never fully leaves. You tried to label it anxiety, stress, exhaustion, but it was none of those. It was the pressure of destiny waiting for your agreement. Sunday is where hesitation becomes visible in the spirit. Not to shame you, but to reveal truth. Up to now, God has been patient with your questions. He has allowed your wrestling. He has stayed near while you delayed. But understand this clearly: prolonged indecision is still a decision, and heaven responds to decisions, not intentions. This is not about perfection. God is not asking you to have everything figured out. He is asking you to be positioned in humility, positioned in surrender, positioned in obedience. When those align, timing unlocks. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, to everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. That word time is not casual. It implies boundaries. It implies order. It implies that even divine patience has structure. When a season ends, it does not negotiate with nostalgia. It moves on. And those who refuse to move with it feel left behind, not because God abandoned them, but because they resisted the rhythm of heaven. You are standing at the end of one season and the entrance of another. The discomfort you feel is the friction between who you have been and who you are being called to become. Sunday marks the final threshold because it exposes whether you will cling to familiarity or step into responsibility. This threshold is not dramatic on the outside. Life may look the same. People around you may act unchanged. But inwardly, something irreversible is happening. Assignments are being reassigned. Authority is being redistributed. Weight is being added or removed based on readiness. Understand this: thresholds do not wait for confidence. They respond to obedience. Many people miss divine moments because they wait to feel ready. God does not anoint readiness, He anoints surrender. The feeling often comes after the step, not before it. Sunday carries finality because it is a response point. Heaven is watching how you respond to what you already know, not what you hope to learn later, not what you are waiting to confirm, what you already know. Revelation brings responsibility, and you have received enough to act. If you cross this threshold aligned, acceleration follows. If you resist it, stagnation hardens, not as punishment, but as consequence. Motion requires agreement. God will not drag you into destiny. He will invite you, warn you, prepare you. But the step must be yours. This is why your spirit feels restless. It is sensing the narrowing of options. Wide paths are closing. Distractions feel emptier. Old comforts no longer satisfy. These are signs of a season ending. God is loosening your grip on what cannot follow you forward. Sunday is not the end, it is the point of no return. After it, you will not be able to unsee what you see. You will not be able to pretend you didn't know. The grace you have now is instructional grace. It teaches, it corrects, it prepares. Later grace empowers, but it also holds accountable. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to clarify you. Fear paralyzes, but clarity focuses. And right now, heaven is offering you clarity. Clear direction, clear warning, clear invitation. You are closer than you think, not just to change, but to confirmation. Sunday is the seal on what has been forming quietly within you. Honor it, recognize it, align with it. Because once this threshold is crossed, the expectation increases, and so does the weight of glory that follows obedience. There is a truth you have tried not to look at directly, because it makes the cost real. Hesitation has a price. Disobedience leaves a residue. Delay does not remain neutral. It quietly takes clarity. It takes momentum. It takes sensitivity. And over time, it takes confidence in your ability to hear God clearly. What you are facing now is not condemnation, but confrontation with reality. God has been patient with you, but patience should never be mistaken for approval. Mercy creates space to repent, not permission to remain the same. You knew when He first spoke. You felt the conviction before you rationalized it. You sensed the instruction before you negotiated with it. Each time you delayed, you told yourself you would respond later, when conditions were better, when emotions settled, when fear quieted. But fear does not quiet itself, it grows when fed with delay. Every time you hesitate, something in the spirit dulls just slightly. Not your calling, but your sensitivity to it. That is why what once felt clear now feels distant, not because God stopped speaking, but because your spirit learned how to postpone obedience. This is dangerous ground, not because God withdraws love, but because conscience can be trained to tolerate resistance. Chosen one, understand this carefully. The greatest threat to destiny is not attack, it is familiarity with conviction. When conviction no longer produces action, it eventually stops producing urgency. And when urgency fades, people drift, not suddenly, but gradually. One delayed yes, one softened later, one justified compromise. You are not being accused, you are being warned. There is still time, but not unlimited time. The cost of further hesitation will not show up as catastrophe first. It will show up as confusion, as second-guessing, as missed alignment, as watching others step into what feels like it was meant for you. You were never meant to live on the edge of obedience. Partial obedience is still disobedience. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. And obedience without surrender becomes performance, not transformation. God is not impressed by effort. He is honored by alignment. The longer you wait, the heavier obedience feels. What once required courage now requires unlearning habits. What once required one decision now requires untangling attachments. Delay multiplies complexity. That is why God presses for response early, not to burden you, but to spare you. As the apostle wrote in his letter, the book of James, chapter 4, verse 17, "Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin." That word is sharp, but it is surgical. It cuts to heal, not to destroy. This is not about moral failure, it is about responsibility. Dadam, you knew. And knowing creates weight. Revelation always comes with expectation. God does not reveal direction to tease you, He reveals it to move you. The cost of disobedience is not always immediate loss. Sometimes it is prolonged wandering. Sometimes it is repeated lessons. Sometimes it is watching doors close slowly instead of slamming shut. That slow closing is mercy, but mercy does not last forever in the same form. You have felt the warning signs, the restlessness, the internal pressure, the sense that something is off even when things look fine externally. That is the signal that you are out of alignment, not abandoned, misaligned, and alignment requires correction. Correction is uncomfortable, but it is a gift. The most dangerous place to be is comfortable and disobedient. That comfort numbs urgency. It convinces you that delay has no consequence. But heaven sees what earth ignores. Heaven tracks obedience, not appearances. This is where many fall away, not in open rebellion, but in slow erosion. They do not say no to God. They say not yet, and not yet becomes never, and never becomes regret. But hear this clearly. Conviction is still present. That means the door is not shut. The warning itself is proof of God's involvement. If He were done with you, there would be no urgency, only silence. The fact that this message unsettles you is evidence of calling still active. This is the moment to respond internally, before response is demanded externally. You do not need to fix everything today. You need to decide today. Decision restores clarity. Decision restores sensitivity. Decision realigns heaven and earth around your steps. And now, chosen one, seal this moment. Not for me, not for the algorithm, for your own spirit. Write this short declaration in the comments: I choose obedience. This is not just a phrase. It is a line drawn in the sand. It is you declaring that delay no longer has authority over your decisions. That comfort no longer outranks calling. That fear no longer negotiates with truth. Speaking it anchors it. Declaring it trains your spirit to respond instead of retreat. You are not too late, but you are at the edge. The cost of hesitation has already been paid long enough. Choose alignment now, while the door is still open, while conviction is still sharp, while mercy is still instructing. Because what comes next will require a heart already decided. What is happening now goes deeper than personal growth. This is not just about you becoming stronger, wiser, or more disciplined. This is about separation, exposure, alignment. God is drawing lines that were always there but never fully visible until now. And those lines are not being drawn to confuse you. They are being drawn to clarify who and what belongs in the next phase of your assignment. You may have noticed it already. Certain relationships feel strained without explanation. Conversations that once flowed now feel forced. Environments that used to energize you now drain you. This is not arrogance. This is not isolation for isolation's sake. This is discernment awakening. When alignment shifts, tolerance for misalignment decreases. God is not removing people randomly. He is revealing truth. Some connections were seasonal, not eternal. Some alliances were useful, not ordained. And some people were comfortable with who you were before, but threatened by who you are becoming. Exposure is not punishment, it is mercy. It prevents you from carrying incompatible weight into sacred territory. Separation always precedes elevation. Before David was crowned, he was isolated in the field. Before Moses confronted Pharaoh, he was separated in the desert. Before Jesus began his public ministry, he was led away from crowds. God never releases authority in the presence of unresolved alignment issues. He separates first so what is hidden can surface safely. This is why things feel exposed right now. Motives are surfacing, yours and others. Conversations feel more revealing. Silence feels louder. You are seeing people clearly, sometimes uncomfortably so. Masks are slipping. Intentions are being revealed, and it can feel unsettling because clarity often costs comfort. But understand, this exposure is protection. What God exposes, He does not intend to destroy you. Do not destroy what you see clearly. You only destroy what stays hidden. God is showing you truth so you can make informed decisions, not emotional ones. Alignment requires honesty. With yourself first, you can no longer pretend certain things don't matter. You can no longer minimize red flags or spiritual dissonance. The season of tolerating what quietly drains you is ending. Not because you are becoming harsh, but because you are becoming responsible. As God aligns you, He also aligns your path. Opportunities that once seemed attractive may suddenly feel wrong. Options that looked good on paper feel empty in the spirit. This is not confusion, it is refinement. When your calling sharpens, your appetite changes. There is also exposure happening within you. Old patterns you thought were gone are surfacing, not to shame you, but to be fully uprooted. God is not interested in partial healing. He is not building on unstable ground. What is revealed now is being addressed so it cannot sabotage you later. This is the uncomfortable grace of alignment. It presses you to choose truth over image, obedience over approval, purpose over popularity. You are learning that peace does not come from being liked, it comes from being aligned. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verse 2, "For there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, nor hidden that will not be known." That statement is not a threat, it is a promise that truth will eventually surface. So it is better to face it willingly now than be confronted by it later. God reveals what He intends to heal, correct nor remove. He does not expose to humiliate, He exposes to liberate. This is why you feel a narrowing. The path is becoming more defined. Fewer distractions fit. Fewer voices carry weight. You are being trained to recognize alignment not by excitement, but by peace, not by noise, but by resonance. And yes, this process can feel lonely. Separation always does. But loneliness is not abandonment, it is transition. God often reduces external noise so you can hear internal instruction more clearly. What feels like loss is actually space being made for what truly belongs. You are not being set apart because you are better than others. You are being set apart because your assignment is different. Different assignments require different boundaries. Different levels require different disciplines. God is aligning you to withstand what is coming. If this message resonates, if you recognize this season of separation and exposure in your own life, I gently invite you to support this work. Like and share this message so it reaches others who are navigating the same refining process. And subscribe so you stay connected as this journey unfolds, not out of obligation but out of alignment. When truth helps you, it is meant to travel. Chosen one, trust what God is removing. Trust what He is revealing. Trust where He is positioning you. Alignment may cost you familiarity, but it will reward you with clarity. And clarity is priceless in the season you are entering. You are not losing people, you are losing weight. You are not being exposed, you are being refined. And you are not alone. God Himself is walking you into alignment, step by deliberate step. This is where everything tightens, not around your life, but around your loyalty. The crown test is not about talent, visibility, or spiritual language. It is about obedience when comfort is available and calling is costly. Many are invited to destiny. Few are entrusted with crowns. The difference is not favor, it is surrender. You are being tested right now, even if no one else can see it. The test is subtle. It does not announce itself with dramatic choices. It comes quietly, through small compromises that promise relief, through options that feel easier, through invitations to remain comfortable just a little longer. The crown test always asks the same question in different forms. Will you obey even when it costs you something you like? Comfort is not evil, but it is dangerous when it becomes your decision maker. God never promised comfort as a reward for obedience. He promised purpose, authority, and fulfillment, but those often require discomfort first. The crown is not given to the most gifted. It is given to the most yielded. You have already felt this tension. The pull between what feels safe and what feels right. Between what soothes your emotions and what sharpens your spirit. This is not confusion. This is the test revealing itself. And the reason it feels intense is because what is at stake is significant. Crowns are not symbolic decorations. In the spirit, they represent responsibility, weight, stewardship, influence. That is why God does not rush to place them. A crown on an unsubmitted heart becomes pride. A crown on an impatient soul becomes destruction. So God tests obedience before He releases authority. This test often looks unfair. You obey, and things get harder. You choose integrity, and you lose access. You say yes to God, and doors close instead of opening. This is where many second-guess their calling. But hear this clearly: closed doors during obedience are often protection, not rejection. God is narrowing your path so you don't carry divided loyalties into elevated spaces. The crown test also exposes motives. Are you obeying because you trust God or because you want the reward? Are you faithful when obedience is unseen, uncelebrated, and inconvenient? Heaven watches consistency, not performance. You are being asked to choose obedience over explanation, over applause, over immediate relief. And that choice shapes your spiritual spine. Obedience strengthens authority. Every time you choose God over comfort, something in you hardens against fear and softens toward truth. Some crowns are lost not through rebellion, but through negotiation. People bargain with God. They obey partially. They delay fully surrendering. They keep one area untouched just in case. But crowns require full allegiance. God does not share thrones with comfort. You may feel like obedience is costing you too much. But what you are giving up now is nothing compared to what disobedience would cost you later. Short-term comfort can steal long-term authority. God sees farther than you do. This is also why comparison is dangerous in this season. Others may seem to advance while you are restricted. They may take shortcuts while you are required to be precise. Do not envy what they carry. You do not know the weight of what they will answer for. God measures you by your assignment, not theirs. The crown test always precedes visible elevation. Always. Before Joseph ruled, he submitted in prison. Before Esther influenced a nation, she surrendered her preferences. Before Jesus was glorified, he obeyed unto death. Obedience is the language heaven responds to, as it is written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11. Behold, I am coming quickly. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown. That verse is not poetic, it is instructional. Hold fast, not drift, not loosen, not compromise. Crowns can be forfeited, not stolen. No one can take what you refuse to release. The only way to lose a crown is to trade it. Right now, you are being offered trades. Comfort in exchange for calling, ease in exchange for authority, silence in exchange for peace. But none of those trades are fair. They look attractive only because the crown is not yet visible, but it is real. This test is refining your yes, teaching you to obey without conditions, to trust without timelines, to move without guarantees. That kind of obedience terrifies darkness because it produces leaders who cannot be manipulated. You are closer than you think. The weight you feel is not pressure to perform, it is the gravity of responsibility drawing near. God is not asking if you are capable. He is asking if you are willing. And now, mark this moment, not lightly, not emotionally, as a declaration of loyalty. Type the number 444 in the comments. This number represents alignment and structure, your willingness to choose obedience over comfort, even when it costs you something familiar. This is not superstition. It is a conscious signal of agreement, a way of anchoring your decision in the natural realm. You are not chasing a crown. You are being prepared to carry one. And those who pass this test do not just wear authority, they steward it. Choose wisely. Obedience now determines authority later. What awakens now is not something new, it is something that has been waiting. Dormant authority does not mean absent authority. It means restrained. God does not activate power before character is stabilized, because authority released too early becomes self-serving instead of kingdom-serving. What you are sensing in this season is not ambition rising, it is assignment activating. You have carried more weight internally than people ever recognized externally. That was intentional. God trained you in hidden rooms, through silent endurance, through pressure without applause. Authority that lasts is not formed in spotlight, it is forged in obscurity. And now, after obedience has been tested and alignment has been refined, activation begins. Activation does not feel dramatic at first. It feels sobering. It feels clarifying. You become more aware of the impact of your words, more conscious of your decisions, less reactive, more precise. Authority sharpens discernment before it manifests influence. This is why you feel less tolerance for chaos and less patience for manipulation, less appetite for surface-level engagement. Authority matures your perception. You begin to see beyond behavior into motive, beyond words into spirit. This is not judgment, it is responsibility. Assigned power is not generic, it is specific. God does not give blanket authority. He gives targeted authority aligned with assignment. That is why comparison is pointless here. Your authority will not look like someone else's. It will function where you are called to function, against what you are called to confront. You may notice that situations respond differently to you now. Conversations shift. Resistance appears unexpectedly. People project onto you without reason. This is not coincidence. Authority disturbs systems that thrive on disorder. Your presence carries weight not because of volume, but because of alignment. Activation also brings restraint. Contrary to what many believe, true authority does not rush to assert itself. It waits for instruction. It moves when sent. It speaks when released. God is teaching you to govern power, not be governed by it. You are learning when to engage and when to remain silent, when to advance and when to withdraw. This discernment is part of activation. Power without wisdom destroys credibility. Wisdom without power creates frustration. God is uniting both within you. Do not be surprised if spiritual resistance intensifies. Authority attracts opposition the way light attracts attention. Darkness does not fear noise, it fears clarity. And clarity is what God is activating in you. Not emotional fire, but grounded authority. There will also be moments of humility built into this phase. God ensures you remember the source. Authority that forgets its source becomes prideful. Pride weakens authority. So God keeps you dependent even as He empowers you. This is why prayer shifts. It becomes less about asking and more about aligning, less about pleading and more about agreeing. You find yourself listening more than speaking. Authority listens before it commands. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, "Behold, I give you the authority to trample on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." That authority is not symbolic, it is functional. But notice it is given, not claimed. Authority flows from relationship, not assertion. Jesus did not say strive for authority. He said receive it. Activation happens when you accept responsibility for what you've been given. You are stepping into a phase where excuses no longer fit, where avoidance feels heavier than obedience, where passivity becomes uncomfortable. That discomfort is authority demanding expression. Not reckless expression, but obedient execution. This does not mean you will dominate environments. It means you will stabilize them. Authority does not always remove conflict. Sometimes it brings order within it. Sometimes your role is not to change the system, but to stand unmovable within it. You will also recognize false authority more clearly now. Loudness without substance, control without calling, influence without integrity. Discernment sharpens when true authority awakens, because counterfeit becomes obvious. Activation requires stewardship. You will be trusted with influence in proportion to how you guard it. Authority grows when it is used rightly and restrained wisely. God watches how you carry it, not just how you use it. There may be moments where you feel the weight of responsibility more than the thrill of empowerment. That is healthy. Thrill fades, responsibility sustains. God is not building excitement. He is building endurance. You are no longer being prepared, you are being positioned. Subtly, quietly, intentionally. What activates now will continue to unfold. Layer by layer, authority matures as you walk in it. Do not rush visibility. Authority does not need recognition to function. Do not explain yourself prematurely. Authority does not need validation to stand. Let fruit speak. Let consistency testify. You are stepping into a phase where heaven backs your obedience with power. Not dramatic power, but decisive power. The kind that shifts atmospheres simply by presence. The kind that closes doors that shouldn't open and opens doors that shouldn't be accessible. This activation is not the end, it is the beginning of governance. Governance over self first, over emotions, over reactions, over focus. Authority begins inward before it manifests outward. Carry it with humility. Walk in it with precision. Protect it with obedience. Because what has been activated now is meant to last. You are standing at the edge of something that cannot be undone. This is not hype. This is not emotion. This is crossing. After this point, your life does not rewind, it recalibrates. What is forming now is permanent in direction. Even if the details unfold over time, you are not entering a moment. You are entering a new posture before God. What changes now is your internal compass. You no longer move based on pressure, comparison, or fear of missing out. You move with intention. Decisions feel slower but surer. You begin to sense when to wait and when to move without needing external confirmation. You will also discover that obedience brings simplicity. Life does not become easier, but it becomes clearer. Confusion fades, inner conflict quiets. You stop fighting yourself. And in that stillness, you recognize that crossing over was never about gain, it was about alignment. Crossing over always feels quieter than people expect. There is no thunder, no public announcement, no dramatic countdown. Instead, there is clarity, resolve. A deep internal knowing that something has closed behind you, even if you can't fully articulate it yet. You sense it in how certain options no longer appeal to you, in how old habits feel foreign, in how excuses lose their power. This is because crossing over is not about location. It is about identity. You are not just moving forward, you are shedding skins that cannot survive where you are going. The old ways of coping, delaying, negotiating with conviction, they do not function here. Not because God is harsh, but because truth has weight, and weight demands structure. After this point, you will notice that God deals with you more directly. Correction comes faster. Conviction feels sharper. Peace comes quicker when you obey and leaves quicker when you resist. This is not punishment, it is proximity. The closer you walk with God, the more sensitive the relationship becomes. You are no longer in a season where ignorance protects you. You see too clearly now. And clarity brings responsibility. But it also brings confidence. You no longer need to guess who you are or why certain paths feel wrong. You don't need to force doors open. You recognize what belongs to you by how naturally it aligns. Crossing over also changes how you experience resistance. Fear does not vanish, but it loses authority. Doubt may speak, but it no longer decides. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start asking, "Should I?" That shift is subtle, but it marks maturity. It marks leadership. There will be moments after this where you feel misunderstood. Growth often creates distance, not because you are superior, but because your priorities are no longer negotiable. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. And clarity can feel uncomfortable to those who benefited from your confusion. Do not apologize for becoming disciplined. Do not explain away your boundaries. You are not required to dilute obedience to preserve comfort. What God is building in you now requires firmness, not flexibility and conviction. This crossing also brings a new kind of peace. Not the peace of everything going right, but the peace of being right with God. Even when challenges arise, you will notice a steadiness underneath them, a sense that you are where you are supposed to be, even when the road stretches ahead. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Notice the language now. It shall spring forth, not someday, not eventually. Now, the new thing is not waiting for perfect conditions. God creates roads where none existed. He does not ask you to understand the terrain before you walk. He asks you to trust His direction. After this point, you will need to guard what God is growing. Not aggressively, but intentionally. Be mindful of what you listen to, of who has access to your inner world, of what you allow to shape your thoughts. New ground is fertile, but it must be protected from careless planting. This is also a season for consistency over intensity. You do not need dramatic gestures to prove obedience. Daily faithfulness matters more. Quiet integrity matters more. Choosing alignment when no one is watching matters more. If this message has walked with you through a moment of clarity, I gently encourage you to like and share it so others who are also standing at a crossing don't feel alone. And subscribe to stay connected as these messages continue, not as entertainment, but as alignment for the journey ahead. Chosen one, after this crossing, you will not be able to pretend you are the same, and you won't want to. You are not losing yourself. You are stepping into yourself. Walk forward without fear. Heaven is already ahead of you. We end here without pressure, without demands, and without forcing a response. What you do with what you've heard is between you and God. Some messages are meant to be shared widely, carried forward to those who are still searching for clarity. Others are meant to be held quietly, kept close, and lived out slowly in private obedience. If this spoke to you, if it brought language to something you've been sensing but couldn't explain, you are free to share it with someone who may need that same clarity. Not to convince them, not to impress them, only to offer light where confusion still lingers. Truth does not lose power when it is shared. It multiplies when it finds the right soil. And if this message did not fully resonate, that is also okay. Not every word is for every season. You are invited to keep only what stirred your spirit, what challenged you gently, what felt anchored in truth. Let the rest pass without guilt or resistance. What matters most is not how loudly you respond, but how honestly you listen. Carry forward what aligns, release what does not, and trust that the God who brought you here will continue to guide you step by step, even beyond this moment.